Here's what I want for you. I did this last week, and I'm going to continue to do this for the next couple of weeks. I just want to be really clear. Here's what I want. I desire that each of you find a meaningful life. I desire that each of you find a meaningful life full of purpose. Now, often, I am so surprised. Hear me clearly. I am so surprised sometimes how people will choose roads and directions in life that they know will make them miserable, but they still give so much of their time, energy, effort, and passion to it. And what I want for you, the deeper part of my heart, what I am hungry for, is that you will find a meaningful life full of purpose. Full of purpose. That's what I want. Full of purpose. The big idea for today's message is this. The most important thing that you can do, like we're talking about forging ahead, moving the church forward, the most important thing that you can do to share your faith with people around you. All right, now this is like the primary question right here. People are always wondering, how do I live my Christian faith out? What does it mean to actually be a Christian in the world around me? The most important thing that you can do to share your faith with the people around you is talk about the good things that your community of believers has done. Talk about it. Here's what I mean. This last week I had the opportunity to go and visit with some amazing people that are wanting to do some philanthropic things even in the world globally. And they invited me to come and sit in on this meeting. A lot of people, a lot of resources. It was an incredible honor to be a part of it. I'm going to share more about that in the months to come. But while I was sitting on this team, or while I was on my way down there, I got a hold of an audiobook called Churchless. It's a research project by the Barna Group, okay? So huge, massive research project, coast to coast, top to bottom of the United States, different tribes, nations, inner city, country, you name it, everybody. This huge, long research project on people that choose not to go to church, okay? And in this, there were a couple of really interesting things that emerged from listening. It was an audiobook while I'm driving, as I was listening to this on the way down and on the way back. The first is this. I'm just going to throw this out. One of the big ideas. We accidentally make church, or people that do not attend church or do not participate in their faith at all, we accidentally substantiate their decision as opposed to counteract it with them, and we do it accidentally. Here's how it happens. When people in your life that don't believe in God or are frustrated with faith or haven't been to church in forever or whatever, they're just frustrated with the church community as a whole. When they say things like, the church is just full of hypocrites. What we tend to do, according to the Barna Project, what we tend to do is we tend to do this. We tend to say things like, we want to empathize with them. I know, you're right. It is full of hypocrites, and it's just not. And then they complain some more, and then we just kind of come along. I know, it is really frustrating. All they ever do is talk about money. It's so frustrating. I can't believe it. I know church people, what you do on accident is instead of winning them into the kingdom, you support their divorcing of it. Did you hear me? Instead of winning them into the kingdom, what you do is you accidentally support their divorcing of it. All right, the next big idea from the Barna Project that stood out to me was this. The church organization, this is really even hard to share with you, the church organization really cannot brag on itself. Now, of course, I'm going to do that. I'm proud of you guys, all the really cool things that we've been a part of and done. That's awesome. But here's the research. The research states, massive, huge research project, lots of people involved, lots of money, lots of time covered. I could take the church budget and I could say, I'm going to use half of it for marketing. All the tithes and offerings, all that's given. I could stop giving as much to the poor downtown. We could stop supporting missionaries overseas. We could shut down our youth programs, shut down our children's programs. We could shut down everything. And we could put all of our money into a huge billboard, like right outside the church that says, turn or burn, and pointing to Trinity. That might be a bad idea. Probably shouldn't do that one. That's okay. But I could have like even signs that aren't so awkward, right? But you could even have tons of billboard signs out there. I could spend tons of the church money in newspaper magazines, just you got to come to church. Trinity, here's an open seat for you, and it points to a chair or whatever. I could do all this marketing. But at the end of the day, American people, this is what the research states, American people are so bombarded with false marketing claims. They don't believe any of it to be true anymore. They don't. We don't believe the news. We don't believe marketing promises. We don't believe anything. One of the primary things that was discovered from this about Americans is Americans have become they don't trust. They're so distrusting of all of this, all of the culture. We don't believe it to be true. The church organization cannot brag in itself. People will believe it to be arrogant and or exaggerated. That's what they'll believe. The number one way, instead of if somebody walked up to me today and said, here's $1 million, I want you to put this into billboards over the next year. That is less effective by far than you just saying, I love my church. And I would love it if you come with me. Somebody could put $1 million in my hand and I could put it into newspaper articles, right? Or I could put it in newspaper things, just, come to the church, check it out, buy an ad space. And it is less effective by far than the people that attend going, you know what? I know there are other churches out there and church is just full of hypocrites. There may be some hypocrites that are out there. But I know that at least some of the believers in my life are amazing. No matter how bad I wish it was true that I could do evangelism for you, I cannot. I cannot do your work for you. Oh, I wish I could. So many Christians don't even share about their faith, or they just agree with people that are frustrated all the time. I wish I could do your job for you, but I can't. I literally cannot do your job for you. In fact, the sum of all of this research is basically this. The future of the church in America resides in the hands of the average attender. And there's nothing that the pastor is like, I cannot spend enough money to outdo your job for you. It is not possible. The future of the church in America resides in the hands of the average believer, just sharing and talking about this. Now, here's the crazy thing. We know that this is the way God designed it from the very beginning. When Jesus shows up on the planet, he comes as a poor country boy, sharing the good news and hope of Jesus Christ with one who shares it with another, who shares it with another, who shares it with another. With this in mind, I want to go to the text. There are people here, probably here, who are going, yes, but the church is imperfect and it's broken and it's flawed. All right, you're right. It's really hard to brag on things that have issues. It's really hard to brag on people that aren't perfect. It's really hard to love something that I feel like has even maybe let me down. It's really hard to do this. What you're asking me to do, I don't feel like I can do. Ooh, let's go to the text. Acts 15, 31 through 33. I'm going to spend all morning talking about this in context. And when they had read it, they rejoiced because of its encouragement. And Judas and Silas, who were themselves prophets, encouraged and strengthened the brothers with many words. And after they had spent some time, they were sent off in peace by the brothers to those who had sent them. Now, a couple things from this. We need to think contextually about this. Okay, so notice here, what do? They were reading, sharing the stories of the good things that God has done. And Judas and Silas, who were themselves prophets, the prophets, what are they doing? They encourage and strengthen the brothers with many words. So they're speaking encouraging words, and they're telling stories of the good things that were done. They were speaking encouraging words, and they're telling stories of the great things that were done. They were telling stories of the great things that were done. They were speaking encouraging words. See that little flip there? That's right. That's a trick to help you remember things. Now here, we got to learn this in context, why it's really important. What was happening in the church and community? One, at this time in history, there was deep tension in the church. They were literally fighting in the church. This was right around the Jerusalem Council in 49 AD, which is one of the first big fights where all inside the church, already believers are gathering together to figure out what they're going to do, and it was over the holiness issues we talked about last week, where you basically had long-term Jewish people who were coming into Christianity, and they had this way in which they thought Christianity should be done. And then you have these new believers that are coming to Christianity, and they have a way in which they think Christianity to be done, and internally they're fighting. Modern music or hymns? Do I have to wear a suit, or can I wear shorts to church? Fighting. Now, they weren't necessarily fighting over suits or hymns, because hymns weren't written yet, at least the ones that you know as hymns. But the internal fight was raging on, even inside the church, and it got so bad, they literally had to have a huge council gathering together to try to work this out. It's hard to brag on something that you don't really believe in all the time. I mean, like in the people that are flawed. I mean, I believe in Christ's work, but we're messed up. It's hard to brag on a community that has flawed people in it, that's fighting inside. But you see the believers, right away in the middle of this tension, they tell the stories of the good things that have happened and encourage and strengthen the brothers with many words. All right, so it's not just deep tension in the church. There was deep tension outside. There was tension growing outside the church. So you may be saying, yeah, that's true, but you don't understand what it's like to live in a day and age where the culture, the community has a value system that stands so against the Christian movement and ideals, right? So against it. Well, man, back then, there was tension growing massively outside the church too. As Christianity was growing, the epicenter, the launch of the church age in early Acts, as it was really beginning to move forward, there was strong tension culturally, pushing against Christianity, pushing against it. In fact, it had become so severe that they were starting to really feel, not just oppression, but friends were beginning to lose their life because of their faith. So in the middle of massive tension in the church and in the middle of massive tension outside the church, the prophetic leaders of the church tell the stories of the good things that God has done. And what else do? They encourage them. Let's pause for just a moment. How do you handle problems? How do you handle problems in life? This last week, I had the opportunity to get to hang around with a few different really amazing entrepreneurs, and my job kind of leads me to do this kind of stuff. It's neat. Okay, being a pastor is a really hard job at times, but it's also really cool. There's some really cool parts of my job. I get to meet people, from wealthy, I get to run around and spend time with, at times, multi-million-dollar philanthropic, people that love to make a difference in the world. I get to run around with, I've had dinner with true, poor, schizophrenic or bipolar, homeless people living downtown. I've like the whole spectrum. I get to kind of spend time with everybody. It's a neat job. I get to love and speak truth into these really extreme ends of the spectrum. It's kind of a really neat job to see it. And I'm telling you, there is a mindset that comes with some of these entrepreneurs, like true entrepreneurs. They just think so different than most of us, specifically about how they view problems. I kind of see it. I was talking with a guy this week, and he said, I kind of see it like this. I see that there's kind of two primary perspectives. One is the victim, a victim mindset. And victims, they tend to see the world like this. They see problems as potential, or they see problems that act oppressed and depressed. Victims act oppressed and desperate is what they usually do. This is just the way victims work. So what victims naturally do is they will look at a situation where there are problems. Things don't work. I don't like whatever it might be, from political and healthcare stuff to the fact that my knee doesn't work. And anything in between, the victim says, poor me, life is terrible. What are we going to do? I don't know what to do. Somebody please rescue me. Victims by nature respond to circumstances rather than act well within them. It's just they're always waiting for something in the world, that the waves being pushed back and forth, difficulty in life, frustration. They just kind of live at the whim of other pressures, victim mindset. And then there's these other kind of thinkers, and when I'm around them, I can tell a significant difference in the way they think. They're these entrepreneurs, okay? And entrepreneurs, they see problems. Now, I'm going to word this kind of funny on purpose. Entrepreneurs, the way they're getting is so different. They don't just see problems. They have this personality where they see problems as potential places for profit. And by profit, I literally mean prophetic. They speak into these voids that are broken. These guys are so strange. They just think so different than us. They look at a community or a culture or an issue, and when everybody else is falling apart, they have this way of speaking life into it. I was talking with one guy this last week, and he said, you know what? He's literally made millions of dollars in multiple areas of life. So not just one, but multiple businesses, he's made millions of dollars. And he said, you know what, I just kind of learned a long time ago that all I have to do is look at culture and find an area where there's an underdelivered product that's overpriced. And anywhere that's happening, and all you have to do is listen to people whine. Just go to any public place and listen to people whine about stuff. If they whine about a newspaper, if they whine about the cost of going to work out, if they whine about the cost of, wherever people are whining and going, life is terrible, life is miserable, he goes, I just hear place to make tons of money. I hear it. That's the way my brain works. Wherever there's a product, right, that's either underdelivered, not done well, or it's overpriced, or both. Wherever that's happening, there is a place to speak into it in a significant way. His mind works so different. He doesn't live victim. He lives always seeing potential everywhere. There was a TED Talk I watched a few years ago with a lady who had to have her leg amputated when she was young. And the whole point of her talk was really interesting. At no point was she like, victim, poor me. All she talked about was opportunity to speak hope, opportunity to bring. It was so interesting to me. She's an entrepreneur. She has that mindset that is so significantly different. I love the way Warren Wiersbe talks about it as we go back to the church now. So here we are, epicenter, launch of the church age. We have all of this tension happening within the church. We have all this tension happening outside of the church. You even have people in the church that are really slipping into like, poor me, Eeyore, everything's terrible, I'm only a victim, I have no power or effect at all. The Jerusalem Council happens, and in the middle of the Jerusalem Council, coming out of this, you have these two guys, and when they speak so differently than the whole world around them is, the whole church world around them is. They're telling stories of the good things that God has done. They're encouraging the believers around them. Listen to the way Warren Wiersbe says it. He says this really well. The leaders of the whole church, Acts 15:22, directed by the Holy Spirit, Acts 15:28, made a twofold decision, right? A doctrinal decision about salvation, which we talked a little bit about last week, and a practical decision on how to live the Christian life. Now, I love the way Wiersbe ends up saying this. He says, church problems are not solved by passing resolutions, but by practicing the revelations God gives us from His Word. Victims do this. They say, let's make as many rules as possible to prevent people from making me feel bad. Church problems are not solved by passing resolutions. They're not reactive. Reactive stuff doesn't march the church forward. Proactive stuff does, but by practicing the revelations God gives us from His Word. Here's where it hit me. I was in a conversation not long ago with an individual who had some true holiness issues. And as I was talking with him, I was trying to initially put like strong reactive things into his life, like strong boundaries. And this isn't always bad. You need to have accountability. These are good things. But as I was putting this in his life, trying to help him make directions, it hits me. Every time I throw it out, he's trying to figure out how to filter that out in life and whether he agrees with it or whether it's a good idea, whether it's a bad idea. And at one point, I shifted my whole direction. I said, here's what I want. I want you to hear me clearly. The things that you are doing in life, though may not technically be sin, are not going to lead you to abundance in God's grace and presence. And I leaned forward in my chair, and I pointed at him. I said, what I want for you is a life lived to the fullest. Because I've seen people, when they embrace the beautiful, amazing, active mission of God and how it awakens something in them. This is not about me keeping you from something you want. It's about me wanting to show you something even more beautiful and how good it can be. Church problems aren't solved by passing resolutions, but by practicing the revelations of God, revelations God gives us through His Word. And as I spoke the hope of life into him, I didn't even need to deal with the prior. I mean, he's chasing what is best. I'm going to invite Josh to come up, and we're going to be done in just a minute. The most important thing, unstoppable unity as the church moves forward. The most important thing that you can do to share your faith with the people around you is talk about the good things that your community of believers has done. This is more powerful than $1 million marketing campaign. It is more powerful than me buying out all the ads in the local magazines. It is more powerful than me doing a massive mailer in your community. In fact, Barna says the future of the church in America hinges on this right here. Nobody trusts ads anymore. Nobody trusts the news anymore. The enemy's done a great job of making us doubt everything. But the thing we are most likely to trust are our friends. So if you have somebody you know in life that needs the gospel, if you have somebody you know in life that needs the gospel, I could bring in the best professors in the world to debate him on a Facebook angry post. And statistically, I mean literally, objectively, statistically, he's probably not going to come to the Lord through that. If you have a friend that needs Jesus in his life, a pastor he's never met could go and knock on his door and try to convince him to go have lunch and try to convince him that all his ideas on life are need to be redirected. That statistically is not going to win him to Christ. It's not. It's not going to work. The future of the church hangs on the average church attender talking about the good things, literally the good news that the community of believers has done. I cannot do your job for you. I cannot do your job for you. I cannot do your job for you. Listen to me. I cannot do your job for you. Only you can speak life to your friends in the deepest way. A couple of reflection questions and I'm going to be done. I want you to grab a piece of paper or a pen, whatever you have, anything. It could be the response cards. You're going to take this home with you. You're going to hang on to this one. You're not going to bring this up. You're going to hang on to it. But I want you to write this down, okay? When I was at these meetings this last week with some of these entrepreneurs sitting around a room, and they think so different. They're just such like type A optimists, see opportunity everywhere. They're just a really weird breed of people. Listen to me. They are a weird breed of people. I had 2 nights where I was up past 2. One night, we worked till almost 3 in the morning, and we were up at 8 the next day. These guys don't run out of gas. They have bigger batteries than us. They are entrepreneurs. By nature, they are entrepreneurs. We're in a room, and we're gathering, we're talking about how do we make a difference globally. There were a number of us that were in the room, and they invited, it was fun to be a part of this. I'm glad I was able to sit in on it. Another person they invited, this is kind of back, it's about an hour from my hometown. They invited my mom to sit in on it too, which is kind of in a meeting with my mom. It's cool. You know, maybe I just got there because of her. I don't know, but it's all right. I learned a lot. And my mom, they wanted her for her like brain research, psychology stuff, all of her background. And my mom said this is really good. She said, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy the way you think. If you think like a victim, poor me, life is terrible, I'm always oppressed, everything's against me. If you think like that, she said, literally they can measure it, and this is way beyond me. Hopefully I'm not getting this wrong. But like the brain pathways and dendrites and all the other, I'm looking out here and see some medical doctors. I'm sure I'm messing this up. I'm doing my best. She was sharing this in the meeting, how it actually forms thought pathways in your mind. Like you learn to think that way. You default to that victim, poor me, everything's terrible lifestyle. It just becomes that way. And she said, you have to practice thinking a different way. You practice it until you reform a way of thinking in life. You have to remap it in your mind, literally remap it in your mind. And she was sitting around the table and she said, here's the funny thing, all these people around here, you are even right now, as they were brainstorming ways to change the world, they were actually talking about getting clean water in a country, Mozambique, how to get more wells in Mozambique to make a greater difference for the people there that are literally dying from drinking bad water. And there's like opportunity. Here's how we can do it. Here's how we can make it happen. And my mom said, she said, it's interesting to me how you are literally practicing right now, ingraining even deeper in your mind that optimistic entrepreneur mindset. You're growing it literally in your mind around the table right now. And so one of the other guys was like, so what if you naturally don't think that way? What can I do about it? Because the truth is, that's probably most of us in the room. She said, there is actually a tactic, a tool that you can use to help grow a right way of thinking. And here it is. Are you ready for this? Gratitude. Gratitude. And so what I want to do this morning is this, as we learn to speak right, think right. Grab a piece of paper, pen, whatever you have. We're going to practice this. Practice being the love and light of Christ, right? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take some time and write out something you are spiritually grateful for. Write out something you are spiritually grateful for. What are you grateful for spiritually? What are you spiritually grateful for? And if you're sitting out there and nothing comes to mind, that's evidence of a way you think. Maybe it's as simple as just going, because of the work of Christ, I have hope that there is something past death. Maybe that's all you have today. But I want you to take just a moment and I want you to write it out. Actually, the act of writing is really important too. I want you to write out what are some things that you are spiritually grateful for. I'm grateful for my kids, for a loved one, for a mom, for whatever it might be. I'm grateful. I'm older, and as I'm facing the end of life, I'm grateful that I have hope in heaven. I'm grateful for it. Write it out. What are you spiritually grateful for? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Write it out. Think about it. What are you grateful for? Keep writing. What are you grateful for? Teach your mind to see potential. Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What are you grateful for? See potential. See hope. What are you grateful for? All right, there's another piece to this. All right, you ready? There's another piece to this. If you're still writing, that's okay. For the sake of time, there's another piece to this. It's this. Who do you feel called to share it with? By the power power of the Holy Spirit, I ask, God, that you would even move in the hearts of people in this room or watching online or listening on the radio, that you would draw them to a place where they come up with a name, somebody that they know they need to not just think about what they're grateful for, but they need to begin to communicate what they are grateful for. We just want to thank you for watching the sermon online. If God is working in your heart, we would love to hear about it. You can go online, www.encountertrinity.com/nextstepscard. You can fill out information there. Let us know what God is doing in your heart. If you need help with anything, we would love to help. Counseling, we would love to do anything that we can to help you go to that next level spiritually. When you fill this out, it goes to one of our pastors. It is private, and we will take care of that information to the best of our ability. We love you, we care about you, and we want to see God do great things in your life. Have a great day.